There we go. You're full of so many little mouse poops and seeds. Good morning, it's Kyle, and welcome to the studio. Today we are going to deep clean this printing press. I'm pretty excited. It is a new press to me. It's kind of old in the grand scheme of things. I don't really know how old because I haven't even done that research. All I know is that it is a Challenge brand press and the bed goes side to side. Kind of like this. Look at it. Look at it go side to side. Isn't this fantastic? It's the only press kind of like this one in my studio, and what's really cool is that it is really light. It is something Chrissy and I can carry. It fits in my car, and look, it fits onto like this little tiny table. Like in a pinch, we could take this and do things off-site or do workshops, and like that's something I'm actually pretty excited about, being able to bring this to different events or being able to bring printmaking outside the studio, but with a press and not just screen print. Screen print we've definitely done outside of our studio, but never really like got to bring a press somewhere. It's in dire need of love. It is in good shape. With just some turns of the crank, like the bed has kind of freed itself and it kind of feels like it's moving pretty darn good. There's a lot of mouse poop. I am 100% certain that there is a mouse house in the top of this chunk. Like 100% certain. Unfortunately, I am not a press restorer, so I don't really have the tools here in the shop to like really restore this press, which I think would be like sandblasting it right off the bat. But I don't have that. So what I think I can do is I can scrape it, I can clean it, I can wash it, and I can give it the best deep clean that my studio can offer. Today is going to be a mask day, and that is fine. I'm gonna look terrible, but that's okay.
What are the secrets of studio practice? I wanna know all your good and bad habits. How do you make art like a pro? There's so many ways to do so. Stick around, cause you'll find out on Artist Confessionals.
Artist Confessions.
Artist Confessionals with sparkboxstudio.
So it comes off, right? And I thought, no mouse house. I was wrong. In our drum, you can see there is all of this mouse house. Maybe if I can make my vacuum skinny, I can pull it out of there. I think the press bed's in my way. I want to get it out of here. This is all attached through here, through the gable. So we're okay. So what happens if we extend all the way? So this is as far as the bed will extend. This stopper here hits this one behind it, which is connected to the actual frame. So if I can get that piece out, we can pull out the whole bed, but otherwise that's as far as this guy can go. There's also a stopper here on this bed, so even if we were to send it in the other direction, it will eventually meet back up with that one. With that guy in the back, and it will get stopped. So I think we have to get that pin out if we want to get the bed out. So how cool is our pressure setting to our press? Depending on how far up or down this bolt is along this bolt, will lift or lower our carriage, which our drum is connected to, which determines the height between X and Y. Give it a little bit of like wiggle. Okay, well.
How heavy is that?
Oh, not very heavy. It's been clearly cracked So not really sure how this is going to go. We're going to take out the set screw, and then we're going to pull out, well, this is supposed to clamp it together, so we're going to see what happens. It's unlikely I'll even be able to get this off without breaking something. Right, that's a big problem.
Where am I from?
Opposite side. High five.
You don't really want to touch you.
There are a couple spots for concern, obviously, such as like the broken handle, which has this piece of cast iron snapped off of this bit. This is something that's beyond my skill level. Now, I'm not really sure what I can do about that, other than like, I could probably maybe try to epoxy this back on, maybe using a metal epoxy. But like, that's a lot of pressure that it's applying there to like kind of close that gap. So I'm not too sure about that. These are our bearings that the post of the drum runs through and sits on. You can kind of tell that they haven't really been oiled up in a little while. The whole carriage sits on top of these bits of metal. These are like the runners or casters that ride on the rails to kind of give the bed that like longer extension off to the two sides. So they're super cool. They're pretty grimy. Most of the stuff on this machine is grimy at this point. I'm going to use like a 5-point tool. I have a wire brush attachment to a drill, which might make quicker work of the press bed. And we're just going to kind of scrape down stuff. That's where we're at. I'm feeling pretty beat up today. Yesterday, I smoked myself in the face with a cupboard door, and that kind of put a damper on coming back out here doing any more work. I was in a pretty foul mood about it. So the first things I tackled, I used a wire brush wheel, and I just cleaned all of the like nuts and bolts. I started kind of doing one of the runners just to see how it would polish up. It looks like it's going to polish up pretty nicely. We are working through it. We are trying our best to just do what we can without having to use chemicals. I do wish that I had a sandblaster. I think that that would make all of this like 1,000 times easier. That would be my preferred method of cleaning all of these bits and parts, but I don't have a sandblaster. I have this wire brush cup attachment. And we're going to keep kind of tackling it, and anything I do hopefully will improve the press. I feel like this press was kept in really good condition for a very long time. It has like rust for sure, like any sort of machinery probably does. But like all of those nuts came out easily. All of those bolts came out easily. And like even pulling the drum off and through the gables, the bearings on the inside, pretty clean, came off pretty easily. So I can't really complain too much about, you know, the condition that it was in. It seems pretty good, to be honest with you. There we go. I can only imagine how kind of gross I might look at the moment. This isn't easy. Doing this all by hand is tough, but here we are. We are working through this. Next, we're going to move on to our drum, and I'm going to see about what I can just get off of it first and see how I can kind of clean and contend with those things. Let's get you up here. This is connected to here just by these screws going in that direction. I still have a mouse house in here, right? I see that there's like a bunch of built up grease on the one side here. Just see if we can free up some of the grease to help get this piece off. I'm gonna assume if one side's terrible, the other side's gonna be terrible. Let's see, we have a set screw. Too big of a driver. Let's undo the set screw. There she comes. And now, there we go. Looking pretty filthy, actually. We've got movement. Let's pull the old offset mat out of here. Let's get rid of the other side. So if we undo this bar, all of that will come off. Loosen, loosen, and loosen. Just pry that up. Kind of looks like the previous owner had a hack for maybe attaching a piece of paper on the underside of the bar to help with gripping it, to keep the mat from sliding out. There we go. But maybe if we get rid of the gear, we can at least see what's on the other side. I think my main goal with my deep clean here is to just at least be able to take it apart as much as I can, clean it as best as I can, and try to... I don't want to feel weird touching it because I know that there's a giant mess house here, and like I would like it to at least feel clean from that. Now, here goes. Look at that. Bam! This guy, I wish I could get a little bit further stripped down, but what I think I'm running up against is that the exterior is all welded together, and that these two discs have been welded onto this guy, and so it is a whole shape. The offset blanket tensioning rod, I don't know if I can get that any further stripped down than this. The big old rod that sits here, I'm not sure what I could even do to get that out. So I do believe this is as far as I can get it, which means I can like do as much as I can up until here. Cleaning the inside of this is going to be very difficult. I don't really know what to do about that. Not gonna lie, it's real slow going. Unfortunately, I can't get inside. That's a bit of a bummer. I think that it's gonna be kind of what it is, and I can just clean up the rest of it. That doesn't sit too well with me, but man, what else am I gonna do? I can't fit my whole vacuum in there. I can't fit my fist in there. I can't fit my drill in there. I don't know. I want to clean it though. I think cleaning this gear by hand was silly. I think that I should have probably used some sort of chemical to clean this guy because this took a lot of work. We're moving on to doing some nuts and bolts of the roller, and then next we have the gables. I still have the bed of the press to do. Today is going to be a long day of grinding. I'm excited to kind of get the other components cleaned. I still have a lot of cleaning to do, let's be real. But I'm excited to kind of maybe start putting it back together. I've been thinking about color. I keep thinking I want to paint it teal to match some of the other things in our studio. So maybe we're going to paint it teal. I thought I'd maybe share some of the progress that I have made. I did get the bar off the gear track. I was pretty successful with that. I felt good. I think with the gables, to try to reduce any debris getting into the bearings, I'm gonna tape up the holes on these before I go to town on it. I don't know what to do about the sticker. The backside of these cast pieces are pretty rusty, so I think I'm probably going to just bring a table outside and quickly like hit the backsides with the wire brush, because it's going to kick up a lot of dust. Now, I do think I need to make sure I'm moving quickly here, because this project has gone on way too long, and at this point I think that I need to kind of work effectively. I'm hoping to be done sanding finally today, so I can maybe talk about painting it. I stopped at Home Hardware to pick up a few things, in particular a very small wire wheel. I think it was like $7, and then a new cup brush. I wanted to show you what my cup brush looks like now versus like a new one. I felt like I needed to treat myself and buy a new one, especially because when I turn this guy on, I'm gonna have like a lot sharper edge versus what this guy looks like. So like getting into like those corners and those edges is going to be a lot easier with the newer brush than the old brush. The other style of brush I bought was this wire wheel. Well, let's open her up. Now, they came in coarse or in fine. I bought fine. This one I imagine was more expensive because it has the drill chuck bit. You know, I wanted the hex chuck, not like a smooth cylinder. They were obviously more expensive to be hex shaped so that they fit my drill, but that's what I have, that's what I want. These were all of the tools that we used to disassemble the press and to kind of like clean it up and get the first round of like rust removal out of here. I think this is probably the most important thing, a respirator that's rated for like particles. You can see like clean, intake, how dirty it gets. These filter cartridges are done now, I think at this point. The respirator, incredibly important, very, very important. The big pry bar, the other pry bar, the flat pry bar, and the other pry bar I thought that those were like really, really important. We have like some cleaners. I have some baby powder for like just being able to put the gloves back on my hands. We haven't really used mean green yet, but we're gonna get to it. The little tiny socket set. I wish I had a bigger socket set, to be honest, because the amount of like torque I can put on this thing is not much, but for the small projects, it does pretty good. These wire wheels, oh my God, like 10 bucks with tax all in. These things were everything. As long as I had this and I have this, I can deal with rust. So the drill, obviously really, really important. WD-40, which was absolutely integral. It's still going to be integral for, especially for us, for protecting the press bed, but we'll get to that. I don't know, the abrasive stuff, I didn't really use it, but whatever. We have like the knives that were really great for scraping off like very old grease, and that was really fantastic. Pair of vice grips for holding on to absolutely all of the little bolts as we grind them with the cup wheel. And then like we have a punch and we have some flathead screwdrivers. We have the wire brush. This thing was really great. And then the crescent wrench. And then I think that my engraving tools, although very expensive tools for kind of doing this kind of work, have been like really invaluable, predominantly because like it has a flat edge and they're very lovely to use and very sharp. And so cleaning some of the older rust off is quite easy with these. I'm done wire brushing. I'm sure there's gonna be some spots along the way, but like we're moving into degreasing and prepping that surface for paint. So we went to Home Hardware and we picked up mean green. This has worked really well for me in the past for dealing with grease. It's what maybe I'll try. If this I feel like is too harsh, I might switch to vinegar. I might just use vinegar. I also have, like, the shop just has tons of vinegar, so I might just use that. We purchased our color. We were going to maybe go with matte, but I advocated that maybe a semi-gloss or any sort of like gloss surface would be better. I think with all presses, they're supposed to kind of ooze and drip oil. You are often cleaning and wiping the surfaces, and I thought that maybe a glossy or semi-gloss would be a little bit better than like a matte finish, and that's kind of why we went with this. We went with teal because I think that teal is fun, and that is the color of our studio. This happens to be paint and primer. I thought that that was like two birds, one stone. I don't know how good it is. Like the can even still says use some sort of specialty primer before you paint the metal. To get ready to paint, what we're going to do is try and follow the instructions on our Rust-Oleum spray can. Remove loose paint and rust with wire brush or sandpaper. Yeah, I did it. Lightly sand glossy surfaces. I would say that the glossy surfaces of the paint on the gables, I have definitely sanded those. Clean with soap and water, rinse, and let dry. So I think that's the step that we're going to be at, and I think that I still want to try and use either vinegar or the mean green to clean those things. And yep, that's going to be how we tackle that. I picked up a steel epoxy. I honestly don't know if like epoxy is just epoxy or there's like special epoxies for steel, but there is a steel epoxy. This will dry gray, and we're going to try and use this to repair the broken piece on the handle. And we're going to use it also to maybe body fill a chunk or corner of metal that has fallen off the press bed that supports one of the stoppers. Also got to remember to take a photograph of the sticker so that we can reproduce the sticker and then like scrape off that sticker, the challenge sticker on the front of the gable. We're going to reproduce that, I think, and print it onto some vinyl. Yeah. So today's a lot about cleaning and getting ready. I'm very disappointed with my epoxy. It seems that the one side has kind of dried out and is no longer like liquid, and no matter what I do, I cannot plunger it through. So therefore, it is toast. You can see how chalky dried the one side is versus the liquid other side. It's just not going to work. So this will have to wait for tomorrow. So we're just going to give them a good soak, rub down, and I'm going to let them sit. This table is just going to be gross, I think. I don't really have any other excuse for it. I'm going to have to go cut some more cloths, but that's going to be the idea. It's feeling dry. Like even a little bit grippy with these gloves on. I think that that's a good indicator that we are degreased. Not really anything's coming off of the rag when I wipe it. We're gonna do the other one, and then these are ready for paint. Good morning. It is early Sunday morning, and I'm out here to check on some of the progress of our labor recently. The most important part is we tried to epoxy not once, but twice, and both canisters of epoxy were dried out. We're using this. It does say for metal, so I think that it's worth a shot, and if it doesn't hold up, it doesn't hold up. I won't be able to do the body filling on the actual press bed. I'll have to go and find a different epoxy or something, I don't know, and do that at a later time. What I need to do is finish taping out the other pieces so that they can get sprayed by Chrissy. Her spraying really is only taking 5-10 minutes to do a coat. I'm glad that part is fast because the other parts have not been. I want to leave the tops of the rails and the gutters on the rails clean. Right here is where the chip was, and I do want to body fill that later, so I'm going to leave that bit of metal as metal so that later I can maybe epoxy it and then blend it in with some spray paint. But the left side, or I guess the right side of this rail here needs to get painted, but not the little notched part. And the same dealio was on this side. And I think that there's a couple spots on the left side and on the right side gables. Yeah, such as this guy, this face, these two faces. I'll tape those guys out as well. I'm pretty excited. Today is the day I get to actually put this thing together. This is the press. It's all in these pieces here in front of me. What was supposed to be a 1-week project has now turned into this is the end of 2 weeks, and I still have to actually edit this video. I feel in hindsight, here are some of the lessons that I've learned. Go sandblast. I think that is the best solution for taking it apart and cleaning out these pieces. Harp off an area. I've spent an entire day cleaning my whole studio. And not that the studio didn't need the cleaning, but I made the serious error that when I started using the wheel, the brush wheel, all that dust was being kicked up in here. Now it was winter, it was in the middle of a snowstorm, and should I have just waited for a nicer day to do it outside? Yes, 100%. I should have just done that instead. But I was stubborn, and this is when I wanted to do the work for this video and restoring this press. And so I chose to do it in the worst time. And now it's like kind of mild outside, and this would have been like really actually pleasant to do the work outside. So in hindsight, do it in better temperatures, and I think that I would tarp off an area if I was going to do it again inside and tent it so that all of the dust would be contained in the space. That's my big regret with this project. Not that the studio doesn't look awesome. Let me show you. I'm pretty excited about the blue color. It's a really lovely teal. I think that's kind of where we're at. We're just going to start assembling stuff. Let's grab our guy. These two stoppers are what's going to hit this and hit this, so I need to spin this guy around. But I have, well, why don't we just spin it around? No, I don't want to spin around. I want to, I have the giant metal bars to build. These are the metal bars I'm talking about. With the shape of this and the rounded corner, I believe that this is going to sit down in the rails. And that's why it's like slightly shinier in the last like 1/8 of an inch. This is something I was a bit worried about, was that maybe I'd bent the bar. So the runners support the gable wall of the press bed. These are the stoppers to ensure that when the runner hits to here, the runner stops. So on this side, we have that back there, that's the rail. But we have a double channel here. And in that second channel, we have this press, this big steel bar that rides along in the channel. The little lip that's on this part of the gear goes towards the machine, and that this part goes outwards, also maybe as indicated by like the hexagonal like ring shapes where the bolts have just been sitting. The reason why I think that gap in distance exists is so that this part is going to run on the rails and this is going to hit the gear treads. And if there was no tolerance, by that I mean that gap, these two things would probably bind together and we'd see a lot of wear and tear on our gear system. I've made the common mistake that when the drum is engaged at the center of the press, it shouldn't be the gap opening where you like attach the tin pin. So like we need to make sure that the drum is facing down when we have the press bed dead center on this, as opposed to having the opening here. I want the opening here so that the tin pin can go all the way around. Because right now we have we would have no pressure between here and here. So we're gonna undo the gable and undo our work here and then redo our work here. Hold the press bed kind of there, and then this is gonna wanna turn or roll. All right. So we can hold on to we're gonna like pivot, pivot. We're just determining what teeth. So if that's flat and at the dead pins, when the press gets all the way to the other side. I think that's probably correct. Because like both these edges are landing essentially at the dead pins. So let's get that press bed center. Okay. So we're just dropping it on. It's just a cover. I know, Ziggy. That was a great video, wasn't it? Thanks so much for hanging out with Ziggy and I. I hope that you had a great time watching this video. If you have not yet, you can like this video, subscribe to our channel. You can consider becoming a member of our Patreon community, the Spark Club. Goodbye for now from Ziggy and I to you. Happy art adventures, and I'll catch you on the next one.
What are the secrets of studio